Welcome, kings and queens, to another episode of Unapologetic, your number one podcast. This is the show where kings and queens tell their legacies and on. So get ready for the gems to drop and pull up to the table.
And society from Northeastern University in Boston.
Wow.
So, and most people, I say, I'm a proud Michigan State guy. I'm looking for a Michigan State something. Usually I have Spartan stuff all over the place, but
You know that's messed up, Doc. I'm go blue, baby.
oh no. See, I'm sorry to hear that, shoot. Okay, I am going to do this
It's
against my
go
better
blue,
judgment,
man.
but you need to see this here. So this is my MSU Federal Credit Union debit card,
Wow.
and so
I ain't take it that far.
oh, just a minute, and this is important. So I'm going to take your valuable time again and pull out my Michigan State University credit card
Wow. Oh, you
going
got the
back to
Trojan.
1978. So yes, I am a proud Spartan, but the PhD is from Northeastern University in Law, Policy, and Society. Now it's they've rebranded it to Public Policy.
Yeah,
So
okay.
basically public
Okay.
policy, because Law,
Thought
Policy, and
so.
Society people can't remember, but public policy they can remember. So that that's I enjoyed that degree program. That I learned more in that program than any other program I was a part of with Michigan
Wow.
State Political Science, Western Michigan University, a master in public administration there. So that's sort of my education street cred, if you want to think of it that way.
Okay. Okay. That
Yes,
makes
sir.
sense. Because when I was doing my research and reading, it was I had to start. I always take notes, but my notebook started getting a little long. I'm like, God darn, this man has done a lot. Like this is crazy, and I want to backtrack a little bit, but in your Reese Puffrey senior year, you met your, I want to say, the love of your life, correct?
Yes, it is. The lovely spouse. So that's I'll make it real. She has a different story than I have, but so
Right.
so
But that
we
was your backbone to push you forward, was it?
yeah.
Of
I,
course. Okay.
and she's somewhere around, but we're having some work done here. I'm sitting at home. That is not my home. That lovely picture there. But we met in high school in the West Shore Youth Symphony, and she
Oh,
was a
wow.
violinist, and she actually was a concert pianist in college. She was recruited to by Ralph Vodopek, the first uh, recipient of
That's
the
wild.
uh, boy. I'm trying to remember there's a major classical pianist award that she won that Vodopek won, and he would self-select
Right.
musicians. She was one of them. So she's just nuts. Plays all sorts of different instruments, any string, keyboard,
Wow.
sings. But yeah, she we met in high school, but she was interested in the guy sitting next to me. So so I was like, wait a minute. So then time passes. We go to Michigan State. I see her. We begin dating, and
Right.
then we were married in 1979, and she's been keeping me on the straight and narrow since then. So
Hey, I like to highlight that, man. You need that partnership actually helps and builds your each other. A lot of things now in society is always, oh no, single life, but that's where I want to say people we tend to separate ourselves from what we need and then from what we want,
true.
so uh, but I had to highlight, thank you for highlighting that for us, and I can't believe how talented she is. I never knew that much. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Learning one instrument is enough for me.
Yeah.
you
Oh
know
yeah.
it's
What
just too.
instrument did you learn? Are you
Well, I started learning how to play the piano when I was about nine
okay?
years old,
All
but
right.
I wish I would have stayed on it because I hear so many pianists, excuse me, that blow me out of the water, and they're so young. I'm talking 9 years old, 8 years old, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
they're amazing.
That's
So your
great.
musical background really hits home for me. Uh, but I want to tag in on your college. So you were a worker, well, I want to say on the executive board on Adrian College or something like that.
So yeah, colleges. So my employment as as um, as an academic began in 1994, and I'll say before 1994, I worked for the state legislature of Michigan, the Senate Fiscal Agency. I was basically a budget and finance person specializing in budgeting and tax policy. So worked for the state of Michigan, worked for the National Conference of State Legislatures. And they were in Denver. We lived there and Washington, D.C. So my first trip to D.C. was with NCSL, I believe. And then I worked for the city of Boston in various positions, and then eventually moved well through budgeting, contract
Wow.
management, and Boston Police Department, which I worked there for several years. And while I was finishing my doctoral dissertation,
Wow.
as their research and technical services, which is technology
Uh.
director, we purchased as part of the time I was there uh, a new computer-aided dispatch system that replaced a 16-year-old system that was it 16 years old? Yeah, something like that.
Oh,
Purchased
wow.
in 1976, and we flipped the switch in 1994 for the new system. So you figure
It took
Boston
that
Police,
long? Oh, wow.
yeah, they had the system that was it it had 16 kilobytes of random access memory. I mean, you can't even, it's so small you can't even measure it these days. So our
Man,
job, we had to
that's
get police
crazy.
up to speed on modern technology, and man, they were working with nothing for a place as large as Boston Police. But anyway, we got that done. Then I moved eventually to finish my doctorate, working at Oakland University as a mainline political science professor, where focus was primarily research, but taught lots of different classes. There for 12 years, and then eventually Adrian College as their academic vice president. So I
Oh, wow, doc.
yeah,
That
and so I worked 30 years before I came to Muskegon, and a lot of people, they don't know that. Um, so my to them, either they knew me in high school or they knew me when I came to MCC, and
right, right.
I'd lived 30 something years prior to being appointed president at Muskegon. So, and people ask me what the best job I ever had was. You know, and it's not to play favorites, but working for the BPD, the Boston Police Department, as the research director and technology director, that was crazy.
Really?
Yeah, we had thousands of police officers, and here I am. I'm a doctoral student. I already had like 10, 15
R-
years of experience, so I'm thinking these
Right.
guys, typical police, arrogant, what you think about police. And there was some of that, but these guys were making major changes to how they did business because they were coming out of uh, a U.S. District Court um, uh, order to eliminate discrimination in the department. They were actually giving the white guys
Mm,
um, various and sundry tests when they came in, and if you were black, you didn't get that. So that was happening in
dang.
Boston in the late 70s and early 80s. So Mayor Flynn is elected. He comes and he brings a whole new team of people in, and eventually brings me in after a few years. And so our job, I mean, that wasn't all of what happened in Boston, but that in the
Right.
BPD, they were changing the way they did business in a meaningful way, such as getting rid of old computer systems, but also getting rid of some of the discriminatory practices that they had. And I mean, that wasn't my job, but my job was to get information to officers and to administrators in a way that they could use it as opposed to, well, I got this paper here, everything
Right.
they were doing. They had some computers, but they print it out and then they'd walk it over to a station house, give it to the police officers. And if you're trying to solve crime, you can't do that if you're,
Wow, bro.
you know,
That's almost
that
like a mailing service. You got to mail in your dispatch.
crazy stuff. So we fixed that. And I was proud to be a part of that. So seeing what I did and the immediate result of it, I mean, that was very gratifying. And then all of my work in education, that I would put that a close second because you work with students, I mean, thousands of students over the years, either
Hmm.
as a professor or as an administrator, or even as a president. I always try to make sure that I would have conversations with students, current students, former students, and that was, uh, that was very gratifying. I mean, to
That's
see.
awesome, because
Yes.
it's how were you able to juggle that much weight, I feel like, on your shoulders, being professor and being a part of the, not of the leadership of of the college as well at the same time. Like, did
Well,
you feel like your mind was, hey, you was being pulled to many places, or
yeah. Well, there were a lot of people helping me, and there were people who served. I'm speaking of Adrian College specifically at this case. In this case, um, my job was as academic vice president to lead all of the faculty and to the library, technology, career services. So a student from the time they came to Adrian to the time that they were graduated, we were working to have them employed. I mean, even a
right,
liberal arts
right,
college like Adrian, you think of those as high-minded places where people learn uh, how to think, um, how to analyze, and how to move forward in their life, not any specific field, but we said, man, these guys are paying at that time $38,000 a crack. We better have these people prepared to be employed, right? So we
right,
we
right.
worked on that, and that was, we had something like 75, 80 full-time faculty at Adrian, and maybe 100, 120 adjuncts. So lots of support, lots of administrative staff to help us, and lots of student groups that were structured to give us feedback on a real-time basis so that we could, the president, Jeff Docking, uh, moved Adrian from a place where we were at maybe 670, 680 students at in 2005, and now Adrian, they run with about 1,800 students.
Wow, that's
So
a
so
big
dramatically.
increase,
Oh yeah, yeah.
man.
So he had a specific model that he used, some of which I used at Muskegon. Muskegon was a community college, so everything didn't work the same way. I mean, they were working with, it was a smaller group, student housing, that kind of thing, where you could go see the students and teach the students where they were in housing. Whereas Muskegon was, people don't think about this, but much larger. I mean, I'm not sure where enrollment is now, but when I left, it was probably 3,500 full-time equated students and maybe 6,500 to 7,000 um, head count. So the number of students, whether they take one class or five
Right.
classes.
Okay, okay.
So it was a different kind of animal, but we were
That's
able to,
that was amazing. That's amazing
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's you ended up using what was already in the on the college, from what my understanding was, and then just pretty much magnified it for the students on campus. For example, I'm talking about the filming programs that you were very intrigued in, and plus
sure.
you were absolutely right about actually doing that type of commitment for the students on filming, and especially in the music and all other industries that filming contracts together in one. So that was amazing, man. I was like, I didn't even know you did that, you know.
Yeah, it didn't start at Muskegon. That's some of the background that I have. I think so many people in my, I mentioned my family before, but my professional life, say at Adrian College, Oakland University, I was there 12 years. I was see I was going to wear an Oakland say pullover like this, and so
Yeah.
a logo right here. And so I said, man, if I do that, then I'm playing favorites. But Oakland, we had many of those same programs at Oakland, and before that, some of the technology skill set that I gained from my doctoral program at Northeastern, and while
Mhm.
working with the city of Boston, we were implementing some of these things like way back when, like 30, 35 years ago.
Oh,
when they
wow.
were in their, I'll say their nascent or their beginning stages. And then by the time I arrived at Muskegon, we had some stuff in place, but we had,
Right.
frankly, some very poor um, um, infrastructure. So our facilities had not been maintained in the way that they needed to be maintained. And I was hired. It's funny, I had some conversations with some board members,
Right.
and they were sort of like, "Man, okay, you have this background, and I was explaining what I would do, and then, well, you're talking a good game, so we have to see whether you can actually get this done."
Right.
So
We got to
I said,
test you.
I said
Yeah.
either if I get it done with lots of help, or I get fired. So you'll see, the last president who before me was there for not even 3 years. So
Wow.
but typically we at MCC, the presidents are somewhere between 8 and 10 years.